This podcast is brought to you by Gorillaware, Malta.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Wellness Warriors, and today we're going to be talking about food and the importance that food plays in the life of a person who actually wants to change their life, their lifestyle, and whatever that may be. So it really doesn't matter if you want to be an athlete, or you want to be in shape, or you want to be in condition, or you're old or young, or whatever the case is. Food is super important. So in this episode, we're going to be talking about how food is important, how one should eat based on some of the things that they want to accomplish. And so that's what we're going to be doing today. So stay tuned for that, and we'll look forward to talking to you in a bit.
What inspired you to explore this topic, and why do you think it's important for our audience to understand it?
Well, the reason why I thought that this would be a great topic to share with you today is because it is essentially, number one, the most important aspect of a person's success when it comes to whatever that may be. So a lot of people will say that they want to lose weight. And the first decision that they do when they want to lose weight is they go on a diet. And going on a diet, of course, is pretty much synonymous with cutting out your calories, cutting out your carbohydrates, decreasing all of these types of things in the hopes that you lose weight. Now, first and foremost, obviously, if you do cut out a lot of your foods, you may lose weight. In fact, not everyone, but you may lose weight. And for those who lose weight, the question is, what kind of weight did you lose? Because in reality, losing weight from starvation or a decrease in calories, especially underneath what it is that your body actually requires, is not the weight that you want to lose. You may lose weight on the scale, but the scale doesn't know that you're a human being, let alone a bag of bricks. So when you lose weight, it doesn't say, way to go, congratulations, you dropped kilos. It tells you that you've dropped weight, and what that weight usually is coming from, and in that situation is going to be coming from muscle tissue and water retention. Water is going to be leaving your body. So when I meet people for the first time and have these conversations, these consultations that I do, the first thing I ask them is, why are they here? And the most important answer that they all provide is that they want to lose weight. And then I say, okay, well, that's pretty nonspecific, because, as I said, losing weight is nonspecific because your body is made of more than just one weight. It's made out of 4 different masses: bone mass, water mass, muscle mass, and fat mass. And there's only one of those masses that has the potential to kill you. Only one of those masses has the potential to cause serious, grave issues within your body now and for the future, and that is fat mass. And so I just felt that it's a necessity that people understand that food, and you've heard it before, people say this, food is 80% of your success. It's true, food is 80% of your success, but what kind of food? How do you eat? How do you establish what 80% looks like? How do you establish how much food you need? Because, in fact, everyone is different. So this is the reason why, and I want to share some of the most important things that are going on when it comes to diets and food and the lack thereof, or the surplus thereof, and what that does to people. And it's something that people need to understand. Though I will say one thing, as I've been sharing this knowledge for the last 38 years, I get a lot of weird looks when I share my approach or philosophy on food, because what I have to say usually goes against the grain of what society and the information that is put out there in an abundance actually says. Now, I might say that I could be wrong, if I hadn't seen what I actually preach to people when they follow it, if I hadn't seen the amount of success that I have seen. And, when people follow what I'm saying when it comes to food, the success is 100%. So I know already, with just that in mind, that what I'm about to explain today or express in this podcast is accurate, and it needs to be listened to. It may go against what you think. Keep an open mind. Listen for the common sense, and see if you see any kind of discrepancy between what I'm saying and what you already known, and we'll see what we do from there.
What are some common misconceptions about this topic that you'd like to clarify?
Well, in respects to losing weight, the biggest, what I call fallacy, would be that to lose weight, and that is fat weight, that you need to eat less. And that's a misconception. First and foremost, it takes energy to burn energy. So if you are going to, even, let's forget that for a second, just to live, to exist as we're existing, we require fuel. And that fuel in our bodies comes as food. In a car, it comes as petrol. But in our bodies, it's fuel. And every one of us has a requirement that we need to facilitate or to provide our bodies to function properly every day. And this is known, as most of you would probably know, as BMR, or basal metabolic rate. And that number dictates what this body, this machine, this vehicle requires every day in fuel or in energy to maintain life. So this is the first thing that we need to understand. And since we are not a car, and since we're human, our fuel is food. So if this body requires, let's just say hypothetically speaking, 2,000 calories per day to function, and I say, well, okay, I need 2,000 calories per day, and I say to myself in some weird fashion, I want to lose weight. What happens if I eat 1,500 calories? Well, first of all, why do I need the 2,000 calories in the first place? I mean, that would be a start. I mean, you should understand why you need the food, because there are a lot of people who go out and they're so, keen on dropping kilos that they will cut their calories down to 800 calories per day, 700 calories per day. And this is very detrimental to the human body. So what do you need it for? Well, first and foremost, your brain needs calories. Your brain needs food to function. And this thing is like the major component of a computer. It allows me to take the million rods and cones in my eyes and see what I see, and it processes that and tells me what it is. It allows me to understand or translate a language in my mind. If I speak one language and I'm listening to another language, I have to translate. It is the operator that tells my heart to continue to beat. It tells my lungs to do this. It tells my body to fight off this and fight off that. And it just, without the brain, none of this is working properly. So there's that. What about the heart itself? It's pumping constantly. So the heart takes energy. The lungs take energy to breathe, let alone conversation, speaking, thinking, working, doing what daily function stuff. So when you add up those four things, that ultimately is the amount of calories that a person would require based on that person's specific makeup. So let's just say that's 2,000 calories. Let's just say. It's going to obviously also be affected by bone structure, height, weight, and all of these things. So let's just say that's the weight. That's the requirement. So I need 2,000 calories a day. What if I want to go to the gym? Well, then I need more than 2,000 calories a day, wouldn't I? Because it's not just giving me the calories to now function. It's giving me calories I need to have to facilitate the workout, to go exercise. So if I do an hour in the gym and it's a hard workout, high intensity, maybe I'm burning 1,000 calories. Maybe if I do 30 minutes of cardio after, I'm burning another 300 calories. So maybe now my body requires 2,000, and then my workout and my cardio requires another 1,300, let's say. Well, that would be 3,300 calories. but I want to lose weight. So I think to myself, well, if I'm going to burn 3,300 calories per day and I only eat 1,000, I'm going to be in a deficit of 2,000 calories per day. So that's great. I'm just going to lose weight, right? Well, yeah, sometimes that's exactly what happens. You lose weight. But what kind of weight you lose, and this is the thing, is you're not losing fat weight. The body doesn't utilize fat for fuel first and foremost, unless, of course, you're in a fat burning zone, and that's not what people are doing when they're working or working out or whatever the case is. So they're burning muscle tissue and ultimately creating a whole sort of scenario in their body that is like a self-protect mechanism. So if you start burning muscle tissue every single day, then your brain will already see that if we keep doing this for the next year, the next 5 years, next 10 years, you're just going to waste away. And so your body will go into some sort of response where you start storing, your cortisol starts to rise up, which is a hormone in your body. You start storing fat more so. And this is evident because as people get older, you'll notice that they not only get older, but they get fatter as they get older, which is a sad thing, and their muscle tissue goes down. This is the biggest mistake that people make. They always want to cut the calories because they want to lose the weight. The scale doesn't tell you what kind of weight you lost. So if you drop 10 kilos, you couldn't tell me if it's fat or water or muscle or even bone density. So that's an issue. Fat is what kills us. Fat is what causes heart disease. Fat is what causes cancer. Fat is attributes to so many illnesses and sicknesses. So to sit there and waste away your muscle tissue and then rob your body of energy, rob your mind of its potency while storing fat is a huge mistake. And this alone is one of the biggest culprits for the reason why 84% of people who diet only get fatter throughout the course of their life. And that percentage may vary nowadays even more so. To lose fat, it takes energy to burn that fat. So losing fat is an action. And then whatever it is that you want to actually do takes that energy, which means it takes food in your body to allow your body to have the energy to do the work to burn the fat. So if people don't learn this and they continue to think that they can just undereat minus, and think that's going to do it, do what they want, it's not. And in a matter of fact, what's really going to happen is this. You may, in fact, follow that kind of a plan. Maybe, you do some crazy diet where it's just liquid diet with some syrup and some cayenne pepper. So you're undercaloried, your body's going down, you're losing weight, you're all happy about that because the number's going down on the scale. However, you're moody, you're forgetful, you're saying to yourself, am I getting dementia because you can't remember things? You don't have a sense of humor, you know what I mean? You're agitated, you're edgy, you can't focus and all these kinds of things. But hey, you got into the dress because, your son's getting married, so now you fit into that dress. How great. And you got to the weight that you wanted to get to. And then the wedding is there, and then you start eating now because you made it, you're in the dress. And before you know it, even before the night is out, the dress is getting tight, and the dress is starting to split. And you're saying, what's going on? The biggest rebound effect is going to come because your body has not had food for such a long time. You've starved it, you've starved yourself of all the things that your body requires to live a healthy life. And as soon as it starts seeing real food again, it's going to suck it all up. And what I'm saying is true because you've experienced it. You lose weight and you rebound and you gain the weight again. Great thing. Great for business, right? Because this is why there are so many diets and so many different things being brought up all the time because people are just so lost and confused with what's going on. But that is the most important thing is food. How much you need, how much you burn. Understand that. And from there you can start. It's a basis of an understanding. And from that you can start making the proper decisions to do and get what you want.
Is it more helpful to keep a daily detailed food intake diary together with the exercise schedule?
So when it comes to following your plan, your eating or your exercise program, it's best to have a journal with you so that you can document what you're going through. Document throughout your day how the food is affecting you, whether you're hungry or whether you're full, whether you're bloated. Whether you're going to bed super hungry, whether you're losing energy or whatever the case is, this information is highly important to fine tune your plan and to really make sure that it's working well and that it's working right. We obviously want to set expectations, and those expectations are set out not over a week or a month, sometimes 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months. But it's important to see a baseline. And so when you start following any plan that you're following, as you document it, you can go back 2 or 3 days later and say, okay, this is what I was doing. I feel pretty good. Okay, this is good. Or no, all of a sudden I see that I've put on like a kilogram in the last 4 days, and that seems to be a little bit strange. What is it that I'm doing in my plan that's causing this reaction? And so, and as I said, not just with your food or your exercise, but even like women, your menstrual cycle and all of these things, because there are times where you get on the scale and you'll just pop up 2 kilos and you'll freak out. And when you freak out like that and you see your weight going up, a lot of times it emotionally affects you and mentally affects you, where you feel like, oh my goodness, this is bad. I don't have a good response. This plan isn't working. When in fact, maybe it's just your menstrual cycle and you're holding a bunch of water. Not even to mention, as you're continuing these plans and as you're looking at the numbers, if you're gaining, maybe you're gaining positive stuff. As I told you before, the scale can't tell what you're gaining or losing. So if you are gaining weight, and you're adhering to the plan that's been written out for you, you may just realize, you may have to come to the conclusion that maybe you're actually putting on some muscle tissue, your muscle cells are filling up with water, and based on how you look in the mirror and such like that, you may start to recognize that you're getting a little bit leaner, your clothes are changing in the way they fit, and this would be a good thing. So this would never require you to freak out, so to speak, and then start to deviate from your plan because you feel like you're a failure. Okay, so journaling helps you to keep track of yourself. It's also there for motivation. It also helps you to stay the focus, the course. Like when I tell people to focus on what it is that they want, the goal. I'm not asking, what is the goal for next month, even though we want to set daily goals even, just to follow the plan. But we want a long-term goal. And when we take a long-term goal, we kind of like take a bow and arrow and we hit the arrow to the mark. And then we grab the rope and we hold on to that rope. And that rope ultimately is like that journal. And so when we have bad days and it's kind of like foggy and we don't know what's going on and we can't see clearly, we still have the rope in our hand, which we know is attached to that focused point at the very end, that goal. So it helps us. It helps us keep the path when things in life may try to take us off of that path. So journal your food. Get used to it. Get used to the measurements. Get used to the food that you're putting in. Get used to how much of the meal you're actually eating, because sometimes maybe you might have a meal and you can't eat 100%. And then you write, I ate 75%. And if that is the case, and then weeks later you say, I'm eating 100% of every meal, then you will realize that your metabolism is actually spiking. It's increasing, and that's a good thing. So not only is it your imagination where you're saying, is it just my imagination? Am I like getting more hungry? But then you'll look at the numbers and you'll see that it's true. So this just helps. It's like the white lines in the road when you're driving. They're not there for any other reason but as a guideline, and you just need to stay within the lines. It doesn't mean you have to be perfectly straight, but it allows you to understand that you're going in the right direction. And that's ultimately why journaling and for exercising and for food and for emotions and for feelings are always good to have. When I've been competing since 1986. I have every single competition I've ever done and the food leading up for 6 months, if that's how long my diet was, and my training for 6 months, all the way to the show, to the very last day of the show, the before the show, the day of the show, up to the show. And I have that for every single show. And the reason why I have it is because I want to look back, and I don't want to have to rethink things or wonder, I wonder if this will work. Well, I know for a fact that I've done this enough times. It's caused me a problem each time I've done it. I won't do it again now. So I use those for review. And that's a good example of why having journals is important. So if you want to be truly successful, obviously you want to utilize all the tools that you possibly can to ensure that you're successful. And this is a great one.
Should people eat a certain hour before and after they exercise?
When it comes to training, yes. Now, as a coach, I will always tell my clients, especially those who are athletic, say who are those who are competing, for example, I will say, well, your time in the gym is and should be spent to build muscle, not to lose fat. And that's the athlete. But that goes for the general person as well. Because having more muscle tissue doesn't mean you're going to be grandiose and huge. But it does mean that having more muscle tissue gives you more strength, more endurance, more energy, more vitality. So when you go to the gym, the idea is to maximize the gym to build muscle. Losing the fat will be done through your cardiovascular fat burning program. It'll be done, in the way you eat and how you eat. So when you go to a gym, you don't want to go to the gym for a workout on an empty stomach, because the gym is going to require a huge amount of energy to be able to facilitate all that you're doing. As I said earlier, energy burns energy, okay? It requires energy to burn energy. So if you're going to the gym, you're going to burn a certain amount of calories. And if there's no food in your system, then what do you think you're burning? I mean, if you wake up, put it this way. If you wake up in the morning, you have to drive to work, and you wake up and you go into your car, and the car is absent of petrol, there's nothing in the tank, how far are you going? You're going nowhere. Okay. The human body, if you're going to go to the gym with no food in the tank, what's it going to burn? Well, it certainly isn't going to burn food, which it should be burning. It should be burning food, because that's the essence, that's your energy right there. What's it going to burn? Well, it isn't going to burn food. It's going to burn muscle tissue. And that's not what we're doing in the gym. We go to the gym to destroy our muscle, it's true, so that we could build it back up. So you need to be eating your food minimal 1 hour before, not after an hour, because not 45 minutes or 30 minutes beforehand, because you won't have digested that food. So you more than likely have issues in the gym with indigestion, or you feel like you're going to throw up, it's not ample to do that. Okay. Too many problems happen with that. So eat at least an hour beforehand. So the food is digested, you have energy in your body. So when you train, that energy fuels that workout. And then for some, they do cardio right after. So then you might want to be even adding something into the workout, like an intra-workout drink, like a complex carb, not a complex, sorry, like a carb drink, like Vitargo or something of that nature, because that will provide a source of energy, so that, again, you're not breaking down muscle tissue. So yeah, you always want to eat an hour beforehand and then go to the gym fully charged with food. When it comes to post-workout, because you've been in the gym and you've been breaking down muscle tissue, your body needs energy, okay? Because you've been burning all those carbohydrates, the glycogen in your system, your body needs energy. So the first thing you want to put into your body when you leave is protein. Push the protein back in, okay? So you want to refill up the muscle. So a protein shake or something like that, okay? And then within about 45 minutes, you'll have your regular meal, like, whether that's potatoes and rice or chicken or whatever the case, and you have your real meal. But eating afterwards, for sure, you need to restore the body's energy. And ultimately, with food now, that food is going to turn into what is going to help you to build your muscle and to recover. And that's when the real growth of your body happens. Growth of the body doesn't happen in the gym. The gym is breakdown. Growth happens after the gym. through your post-workout meal, through your rest, through your recovery, through your sleep. This is when you actually grow. And then you go back to the gym the very next day, fuel your workout with your food, go in, trash yourself, and then go back home and heal. And that's basically how that works.
Tell us about the types of food that we should eat and the types to avoid.
Food plays such a huge role in our development of our physical body. So since we want to build muscle, I mean, this is the muscle. This is what we're trying to build. So if we're trying to build this, I want to build my pecs, I want to build my arms, this muscle, what should I be eating? Well, obviously, since our muscle is protein, we should be feeding it protein. So we definitely want to be eating proteins, chicken, whitefish, salmon, it has essential fats plus protein, turkey, lean beef. You try to keep our fats not super, super low, but we want to keep them to the smallest percentage of all the macros that we're taking in. So also, since we need energy, and this is I would say this is a misconception for a lot of people, we want carbohydrates. We don't live in a time where we have to hunt and forage for our food and travel to get it. And we live in a time where we have refrigerators and things of that nature. So our bodies have adapted. And carbohydrates is energy. But we want clean carbohydrates. Now, of course, there's a caveat because some people are gluten intolerant and so on and so forth. So you have to be careful what kind of carbohydrates you take in and so on and so forth. But carbohydrates is energy. Okay? So our bodies will utilize that carbohydrates to give us the power to do what we want to do. So we want those. But let's say, for example, if someone said, well, what's better, rice or bread? They're both carbohydrates, correct? Yes, it's true. But let's make it simple. Rice is like a log. And if you put the log in the fireplace, it takes a long time to break down, which then provides heat for a long duration. Bread would be like taking the log and breaking it down into sawdust or chips, throwing that into the fire. Well, that burns very, very quickly, thus not providing energy for a long period of time, but only a very short period of time. And since we want to be eating every 2.5 to 3 hours to keep our bodies in a state of balanced nourishment, we would want to be eating foods that will sustain that amount of time. So obviously rice, potatoes, couscous, quinoa, barley, things of that nature when it comes to carbs. Are very, very good. You know, there are other things that you can have as well, but this is the staple of food. Obviously, all the types of vegetables that you can imagine, aside from maybe a complex carbohydrate like corn. So I wouldn't be telling people to eat a lot of corn. I'd be rather them eating rice. You could eat corn, and nothing wrong with that. But if you're let's say you're dieting on a meal plan so you get lean, it's probably one of the things that I would probably kind of keep out. So yeah, these are the types of foods that you should be having. Foods that you should be staying away from, well, saturated fats, garbage food. Garbage food is so high in calories because it's so high in fat. And this does nothing, especially to people who are not active, people who are not burning their fat. Now, when you're a child and have a super fast metabolism, you're super, super active like I was when I was a kid. I mean, when I was a kid, there was no PlayStations or Game Boys or computers, and we weren't even really allowed to sit inside and watch TV. We had to go outside and play. And because of that, we could eat. We were eating whatever we were eating, but we were always in shape. You rarely saw obese kids back when I was growing up. As a matter of fact, I never seen anyone obese growing up. And that's because we were so active. So obviously, when you're active, you can eat a lot more. But today, things have changed. So people are not all that active. And they're now eating foods that are highly saturated in fats, garbage food, processed foods, and not being active. So you're consuming a major amount of calories. They're not being burned. And so ultimately what's happening is that you're just storing fat. I mean, if your gas tank holds 40 liters of petrol, would you see the logic in putting 60 liters of petrol into your gas tank? wouldn't really make any sense, because 40 will go in because that's all it can hold, and 20 will be poured onto the ground, thus being a waste. Your body can only assimilate so much food at one time. So if you're overdoing it with processed foods and garbage foods that you know what they are, pretty much every aisle in a grocery store, except the outside aisles, is probably where you can stay away from. All that stuff is eating excessive amounts of calories that your body's not going to utilize, especially if you're not doing anything. You're going to get fat. This is a huge topic. I mean, this is not something that we can really do in 30 minutes to truly get deep into food. We need a series on this. But suffices to say, you know what you should eat. You do know what you should eat. You shouldn't be going to the convenience store grabbing garbage foods, chocolates, fats, bonbons, cookies, all the processed stuff, unless you want to get fat. Okay, and to say that, unless you want to get very unhealthy and cause yourself problems, because there'll be consequences to eating that type of food. Okay, it may taste good, it's true, but it's going to cause problems. So those are the foods that I would be staying away from. And the first parts I would be coming and bringing right into my meal plans, because they're the healthiest foods that you can eat. So if you enjoyed this video, if you can just hit the like button, share this, subscribe, and that would do us a big favor, as we're just starting out. And of course, obviously, we want to, reach as many people as we possibly can. So it really helps us a lot. So please like, share, and subscribe.